Welcome, everyone. It's great to have you here. Just share my screen so that those who are joining us can see that. And if you're listening in, you'll be sent the PowerPoint presentation if you'd like to refer to it. So the first thing I'd like to do is say Kaya, Wanju, hello, and welcome, everyone. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where we meet, the Whadjuk Noongar people, and pay my respects to elders past and present and to parents who've been parenting right here on Whadjuk Noongar Boodja for many, many thousands of years. I do all of this in the spirit of reconciliation. I'd really like to appreciate you who's listening in or here today. Thank you for carving out this half hour or so to get some ideas about supporting your child's development, so supporting your baby's growth with play. It's such a beautiful way to support them and such a great way to build your connection. I'm going to be sharing a few key messages today, and at the conclusion, there'll be a chance for those who are here in person to ask any questions. If you who are listening into the recording have any queries, please do send them in by email or give me a call. I love to hear from you. My name is Belinda Smith. I'm a parenting facilitator with Miralinga Parenting here in Perth, and Miralinga have been supporting parents and children for over 100 years. A lot of the ideas today are from the hand-in-hand parenting approach, and that's an approach that puts the connection between parent and child firmly at the centre of everything. And it's the foundation of today's workshop, but I'll also be bringing in some ideas from my background as a librarian, so looking at early literacy practices and the ways that we can really support our children's growth through language and learning. So our key messages today are three key ideas. The first one is why songs, stories, and play are so powerful for babies' development. We'll also talk a little bit about when to introduce songs, stories, and play. And then I'll go through some specific examples of songs, stories, and games to try in that first year. So we're specifically looking at 0 to 12 months. A lot of these ideas are going to be relevant right through, in fact, till they're quite a lot older. And I have a 10 and a 13-year-old, and still some of these we might play together on occasion and have a good giggle together. So the first point that I want to share with you is why songs, stories, and play are so powerful for your baby's development. You can see on the screen here, if you're here with me today, that singing, sharing stories, and enjoying play experiences helps your baby's brain connect and grow. So all mammals play, and it's one of the foundational ways that we learn as a species. Babies use play to learn about the world and how they can interact with it. So the more that you play and talk together, the more words they hear and the more they're learning about the world and their place in it. When we do speak with our babies or sing with them, they're really able to learn a lot more about the sounds in words, and I'll talk more about that, but that's called phonological awareness, and it's part of their pre-literacy skills. So whenever you're reading or talking to them, they're learning a lot about words, language, and the back and forth of conversation. Physical play is a beautiful way to build up their muscle strength, their coordination, their gross motor skills, and eventually their fine motor skills. And I think the most important thing about play is that it really builds relationship and connection. And what we know about brains is that that relationship and connection is the foundation of all future learning and development. So when you're playing that beautiful game of hide and seek or peekaboo, you are literally building the architecture of your child's brain. Really important work. So the second point today is when to introduce songs, stories, and play. And you can actually do this from when your baby is in the womb. There are some lovely little games you can play together. One that I used to play was just tapping on my tummy and saying, kick, baby, kick, 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 with a few little taps. And my beautiful little one would kick back again. So from those first moments together, there are ways that we can connect in with them and play together. They can actually hear from around 16 weeks gestation, and they can feel obviously from a lot earlier. So talking to them, singing to them when they're in your tummy, and dad's talking and singing, or the other parent talking and singing, is a beautiful way for them to build connection as well. We know from research that newborn babies turn their heads for the sound of dad's voice or a parent's voice. So it's really having a profound impact on their connection with you. As your baby grows, songs, stories, and games really anytime and all the time. It's such a great way to help you, I guess, maintain interest, for want of a better word. It can be a little bit challenging to just get through the day. So building a sense of routine and a feeling of safety for your baby by singing with them and sharing songs and games and stories is a lovely way to do that. So having a bath time song, having a bedtime song, those are lovely ways for them to build up a sense of the world as a safe place and to sort of know what's coming next. Transitions, big changes, and developmental leaps are also really supported by song, stories, and play. So as your child grows and you get more into reading together, then you might find that there are some lovely books, particularly at your local library, that deal with common challenges, common changes that little ones have to face. So a new sibling or moving house or going to the doctor, getting their immunisations. Stories are a lovely way to talk these things through. In terms of games, you can really follow your baby's lead. Developmentally, humans have been, for example, playing games like peekaboo and hide and seek throughout human history because they actually deal with a really key developmental phase of growth, and that's object permanence, where they're learning that an object exists when they can't see it, and they're learning that they're a separate person to you. So just following your baby's lead, following their giggles, is a great way to meet their needs, just trusting in them. Now we're on to the key part of today's webinar, which is the actual songs, stories, and games you might like to try. And we're going to break that first year into 4 distinct phases: 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, and 9 to 12 months. And a lot of what I'm going to say is relevant across those 4 spans of time, but you might like a little bit of direction for each of those spaces of time. So the first 3 months, really, babies, it's called the 4th trimester a lot of times. They've just emerged out into the world, and anything that mimics their experience in the womb is going to really support their sense of safety and their ability to relax and grow and learn and develop. So lullabies is a lovely way to do that. They're used to that rocking motion inside your tummy, and having that experience of beautiful lullabies and songs is a lovely way for them to feel a connection with you. They're used to being with you 24/7 and hearing your voice. Songs like, and I'll be singing a little bit on this webinar, "Here is the sea, the wavy sea. Here is a boat, and here is me. And all the fishes way down below wriggle their tails and away they go." So any sort of slow lyrical song can be fine. You might find traditional nursery rhymes are lovely for this, and you can certainly go onto YouTube. Better Beginnings, our local Western Australian initiative for families from the State Library of WA, has a beautiful YouTube channel with lots of lovely nursery rhymes and lullabies. Or you might find that you want to listen to Taylor Swift with your baby. That's great too. Old songs like, I think it's Stevie Wonder's "Isn't She Lovely?" Those kind of songs are going to be a beautiful way to connect you as well. Any songs with a sensory focus are also great for baby's development. So I've got a little stunt baby here, a doll, and I'm going to show you things like this where you're touching their face. So the moon is round as round can be, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth like me. So that's having that beautiful touch together. And also over time, they're hearing eyes, nose, mouth. They're getting to know the different parts of the body. Repetition is really important for building brain connections. So doing these songs over and over and over again is a lovely thing to do. And spaces where you are doing repetitive tasks with your baby are a lovely way to build in more language. Things like nappy change time can feel like a real drudge, but if you can build in this kind of delighted connection and have a song that you sing each nappy change time, it can be a lovely way to know that you have just fed your baby's brain hundreds of new words. So hundreds of hours probably over the course of their first life of literacy nutrition. So I'm going to sing to you now a song called the Happy Nappy Song. And it goes like this. Down you go, look at your toes, off with your nappy and kiss on your nose. Up you come with a dum, deep dum, clean as a whistle and blow on your tum. Hush a bye, pat you dry, on with your nappy and fly in the sky. So that beautiful transition at the end is lovely for them as they're getting older as well. They're really waiting with delicious anticipation. But in these early days, just having your voice connect them through this sort of strange experience of being changed that they're still getting used to can be lovely for building their sense of safety. In terms of stories for 0 to 3 month olds, really your voice is the key thing. So you could even just read aloud from your magazine or whatever you're reading. But books for little babies are great if they've got strong contrast. Their visual development is still fairly basic. They can really mostly see in black and white, and it's quite fuzzy. So strong contrast, black and white colours can be helpful. And images of babies is something they often really enjoy. 2 books that I loved with my boys and they adored. One was Baby Ways from the State Library, and another one's called Baby Giggles. And I can still recite those 2 word for word after all these years. In terms of games for the youngest babies, gentle sensory games are a beautiful way for them to really kind of get to know their bodies in space. Things like Journey to the Centre of Mum's Wardrobe. So you do a voiceover of your trip to explore all the textures. And here we have silk. Feel that lovely soft texture. And just talking them through that experience of all the different textures. Things like Round and Round the Garden, an old classic, are lovely for their little hands. Round and round the garden like a little mouse. 1 step, 2 step, into his little house. And I would say at the end, just give them a little cuddle. Tickling can be quite overwhelming for young babies. The other thing that they might enjoy is just silly noises. So if you're making a silly noise and they have a giggle, keep doing it. And finally, wind at your back, placing baby on a soft blanket on her tummy and billowing a light scarf in the air above her and saying, feel the wind. That feeling really builds their tactile and body awareness. So it's all about getting them used to being out in the world in this first few months. Then we're on to 3 to 6 month olds. And again, for songs, lullabies continue to be beautiful right through, but songs with a sensory focus again, that maybe involve a little bit more hand coordination as they start to get to know that they've got hands. It's a great, exciting discovery for them. You might be able to hold their hands a little bit and say, pat a cake, baker's man, bake me a cake as fast as you can. Pat it and prick it and mark it with B and put it in the oven for baby and me. There are lots of beautiful nursery rhymes like that one. Board books are a lovely thing to go for in terms of books for babies. And at this stage, when she's starting to grab, you might find that she really wants to chew on that book. And so long as you feel safe about that in terms of hygiene, then it's a great thing for them to do, to just sort of slobber all over the books. They really enjoy it. Again, books with images of babies and animals. And also there are a lot of beautiful touch and feel books, or even those that make sounds that your baby might enjoy. Singing really helps your baby hear the small sounds inside words, and over time that's going to build her awareness of the sounds that build our language and really help them when they get to be 4 or 5 to pull apart words and work out k, at, t and things like that. So those early pre-literacy skills, we're certainly not trying to teach babies to read, but building up the foundations for that later development. Again, gentle and sensory games for this age group. A lovely one is So Big. How big is the baby? And you lift their arms up into the air and say, so big. And babies will eventually learn to lift their arms in response to your question. Continuing to mirror their noises. So whatever makes them giggle, like, or little faces, things like that, you can just keep doing that again and again as they giggle. Baby in the mirror is a really fun game. Hold your baby in your arms in front of the mirror and just point at their parts, body parts. Oh, there's your eyes. Can you see mommy's eyes? Here's your arms. Yes, you're waving your arms. And then you can do a little version of peekaboo where you step away from the mirror and ask, where did baby go? Back to the mirror and say, there's the baby. So hide and seek really builds their sense of body awareness and the knowledge that they're separate from you, which is a really important developmental leap. Now, 6 to 9 month olds, they're really starting to get quite interactive, maybe crawling, moving around. So action rhymes, while they still don't have a huge amount of control over their arms and bodies, they're much more able to start building a wish to engage with these things. So still lullabies, still those beautiful sensory rhymes, and they might be a lovely thing to do before bed to really calm them down. But action rhymes like dingle dangle scarecrow, or heads and shoulders, knees and toes. And there are a lot of rhymes about feelings as well. Now, as your baby grows, learning to have a vocabulary around their feelings is a really lovely thing for them. So things like if you're happy and you know it are one of the great starting points for that. Stories continuing with board books and images of babies and animals are great, as are touch and feel books. Lift the flap books actually at this age is a lovely thing. They really enjoy trying to find what's under the flaps. And it can be a great time to introduce longer stories. So Harry and McClary from Donaldson's Dairy is a classic. And stories maybe like Time for Bed. It's time for bed, little mouse, little mouse. Darkness is falling all over the house. That's a lovely one by Mem Fox. And again, you may find that each night, if you're reading the same book before bedtime, it's building your baby's growing awareness of the rituals and the routines of your family. So songs and rhymes can really help with those transitions by building a sense of safety and a sense of belonging. Singing the same song as you wake them up in the morning, it might just be a nonsense song that you've come up with. Good morning, little one. Good morning, little one. It's nice to see your smiling face. Good morning, little one. A song for breakfast time might be lovely. A song for them to wash their hands, nappy change, as I said before, and then a song for bedtime. That's really building up a sense of the world as a predictable, reliable, safe place. And that is a great way to support their growing development. Games for 6 to 9 month olds. Peekaboo is the obvious one. So just covering them up with a little bit of maybe a silk cloth or a light cotton cloth and saying, where's the baby? There's the baby. Top that, or baby talk tennis, is serve and return. So serve and return interactions, again, are really important for our children learning how to interact with the world. If your baby makes a noise, you could copy it and then look to her to see if she copies you again. If she is making a word, and we naturally tend to do this. So a lot of these ideas you may already be doing, and just know that you're well and truly on the right path if you are, that this is how we support our children's development, is to really interact with them in this back and forth way. The last idea is around noises, so gathering some objects that make distinct noises and jingling, tapping or shaking each one for her. And if she reaches out to grasp one, encouraging her to hold it and explore it with her hands. So again, this is enhancing her tactile awareness and her listening skills, while grasping the objects encourages fine muscle development. Now for 9 to 12 month olds, you may even have a walker by this stage, which gets interesting. So lullabies, again, sensory rhymes, nursery rhymes, action rhymes can all be a really lovely way for you to interact with your baby each day. And if you're not sure about nursery rhymes that you could sing, you might like to join your local library's story time. You might like to come along to Miralinga's family fun time sessions or our playtime sessions at Hilton. You can get in contact with me about that. Or you might like to look up some of these ideas on YouTube or get an album of nursery rhymes. Play School, I absolutely love. I think that's a great space to find nursery rhymes. And continuing on with the same structure for stories, board books, images of babies, animals, touch and feel books, those longer lyrical stories, but also books featuring daily routines and things that your baby will recognise in their own day are a really lovely way for them to start to see themselves reflected in those stories. Books for babies should really have very sturdy pages, and often being small is really nice for them to be able to hold them well. Being tactile or having another attention grabber like a mirror, having photographs or baby faces or just bright, colourful pictures is lovely, and clear, uncluttered pages to encourage them to focus their eyes on the pictures with very few words is a lovely way for them to get to grips with books themselves, and then you can be reading them slightly longer books so that they get that beautiful experience of language and syntax and how sentences are put together. Games can also get a little bit more rowdy and a lot of fun at this age. So roughhousing and rowdy games are actually great for baby's development in the same way that we've been sharing some sensory games so that your baby gets to really experience her body in space. And builds what we call sensory integration, where she can start to make sense of all of the information she's receiving from the outside world through her senses. That can really be a great foundation as she's getting older to get quite physical. So a game like roly-poly guacamole. So we hold baby like this in front of us very gently and lying on our back and being roly-poly guacamole, rolling over very gently and protecting baby with that rolling over. It can be really rollicking good fun. Another one, if your baby is standing or walking, if they're standing and you see them start to just kind of fall onto their bottom, you can say, bumpity bump. And very soon your baby may look at you as they're standing with that beautiful air of expectation and start to fall onto their bottom, and you can say, and bumpity bump, and they giggle and giggle and giggle. Another lovely one is package for mummy. And this is really popular right through until they're probably 4 or 5 and even beyond. But getting them out of the bath can be tricky as they get older. And in these early days, this is just a delightful way to snuggle up with them. So you get them out of the bath, wrap them in the towel and say, Mummy, there's a package for you. Knock, knock, knock. So you've wrapped them up in the towel. You bring them over to mummy or daddy or the teddy. Say, here you go. Here's the package. And mummy receives the package and says, oh my goodness, it's a heavy package. What could it be? Let me unwrap it. Oh my goodness, it's baby. So that delight, we actually know from research, and I think from human experience, that that delight is a powerful way to build our babies' brains and to support their development. The last idea for games here is on your feet, gathering several pieces of material with different textures or even different temperatures. Some little people in my life were jumping on a little cold pack the other day, really enjoying that cold sensation on their feet. But for the youngest babies, you might try different fabrics to see which textures she prefers. So again, sensory games like this really enhance your baby's tactile awareness and body awareness. So the ideas for these games came from hand-in-hand parenting and also a great website called 0 to 3. You might also like to look at raisingchildren.net.au, the Australian website for families. And Better Beginnings that I mentioned earlier is a lovely website full of great ideas for books for children and for babies. And you can see their YouTube channel for some ideas for rhymes. The Book Trust Book Finder, which I've linked to here, is another lovely way to find new books and ideas. Now, if you're having any challenges as a parent, you're certainly not alone, and there's a lot of resources to support you as you do this important work. So I've included a page here of links, phone numbers, and organisations that can be a support to you as you navigate the sometimes tricky waters of parenting. So, in summary, songs, stories, and play are really wonderful for babies' development. They can start from pre birth and can happen anytime and all the time. And there are lots of suggestions in this webinar for the kinds of songs, stories, and play you can try for babies aged 0 to 12 months, having lots of fun while knowing you're supporting your baby's growth and development. Uh, if you're listening into this as a recording, I'd really appreciate you filling in the poll at the link on the YouTube page. And just know that there's lots of workshops with Miralinga. Please do check out our website. Thank you so much for all your hard work as a parent. I really appreciate everything that you do. And to those who are here, I'm now going to stop the recording, and you'll have an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. Just be one moment. Thanks everyone for listening in.